Support for Veterans Corner Radio is made possible by M&M Printing and the Observer News of Ruskin, Florida. Hello, and welcome to Veterans Corner Radio Podcast, information for and about veterans. For this edition of the podcast, host Joe Mulberger sits down with Carol Whitmore, National Commander of the Veterans of Foreign Wars. Today on Veterans Corner Radio, we meet current VFW Commander-in-Chief, retired United States Army combat veteran Carol Whitmore. Her vast experience throughout her 36 years of service with the Army made her the ideal choice to lead the organization. An extra special significance added to her being the VFW Commander-in-Chief is that she is the first woman to serve in this post and the first Iowan to hold this post. Here now is Joe Mulberger with Veterans Corner Radio on Veterans Corner Radio Podcasts.
Welcome to Veterans Corner Radio, a show dedicated to providing information to all those who have served our country's military and to their families. Now, here is your host, combat veteran and educator, retired United States Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Joe Mulberger.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Veterans Corner Radio. I'm our host, Joe Mulberger. Today we have a very special VIP guest. We have the Commander-in-Chief of Veterans of Foreign War. That is the National Commander-in-Chief, and her name is Carol Whitmore. Carol, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Joseph. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about the VFW.
Well, about VFW, tell us a little bit about VFW. How long has VFW been in existence, and what was it that spurred its existence?
Thank you for asking about that. Most people don't even realize what the VFW is and how we were formed. But right after the Spanish-American War in 1899, a group of people in Columbus, Ohio, 13 to be, in fact, the number, said, we're not being taken care of the way the government promised we would be after the war. And so they banded together and formed the Veterans of Foreign Wars right then and there, kind of on the corner of a tailor shop. And so really that's how we evolved into what we are today, because those veterans stood up to the government and said, you're not doing this the way you promised. And so now we've morphed into over 1.5 million veterans and auxiliary members. So it is quite a story after 126 years.
Where was that tailor shop?
It was on a corner in Columbus, Ohio. And if you go to Columbus, it's downtown. There's a small plaque. We have tried to put something else up there, but it is owned by the city. And of course, they control what goes up and what doesn't go up. And so right now, all we have is a small plaque commemorating the spot where the VFW was founded.
Wow, right there in the capital city of Ohio, too. That's quite something.
Yes.
Was it a one-time good deal and we all figured it out right away after the Spanish-American War? Or did we have, the old military style of the first plan never succeeds its initial schedule? Did we have to learn this lesson a couple of times in the aftermath?
We did. Thank you for asking that also. World War I veterans came back, experienced the very same thing. They were promised, benefits and to be taken care of medically. And the government, again, chose not to. So we had a march in Washington, D.C., right on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, and they marched to Congress and said, you've got to take care of us the way that we were promised. And there was thousands of them. So really to commemorate that effort and that time and place that happened 2 weeks ago. We recreated that march at our Washington, D.C. conference again 2 weeks ago, and there was over 230 of us out in the freezing rain that decided, we're going to commemorate this and, let people know that we honor what they did for us, and we're going to continue to do that for fellow veterans in the future.
Now, what qualifies a person to be a member of the Veterans of Foreign War?
There's several different ways that it can be done. It's usually boots on ground in hostile fire, imminent danger. Expeditionary medals from all branches are eligible. Even Korea is still eligible if you serve 30 consecutive days or 60 non-consecutive days. That conflict has never gone away, so it's still considered an ongoing effort there to keep communism out of South Korea. Different events that the Navy does when they're out on cruises. There's certain cruises that they go on that are not supposed to be known by people, but that's what the Navy does and the submariners do. They take on a mission that is kind of stealthy and nobody should know about, but a lot of them are eligible also. But it's usually hostile fire, imminent danger, Iraq, Afghanistan, Panama, Grenada. Those are our fellow veterans.
What is the method used to ensure that folks that don't belong don't end up in? Like, is there a filter system?
We do. We do the best that we can. It's a little bit on the honor system, but we are supposed to check either DD 214s or some sort of pay stub that shows hostile fire, imminent danger. It is kind of hard, to look at someone and say, yeah, you served. So there has to be some kind of proof of paperwork or medals, that you received. That's the easiest way to do it.
Well, I happen to have an uncle who served in the Korean War as a Marine. He came back. He's from New York City. He joined the VFW because that's what his dad had done. So him and his brother joined the VFW, and he said, we were sitting around having a couple of beers, and we were talking about tactics, and this is in the 1950s. And one of the guys said, oh, well, you Marines, you're talking about you get a platoon of Marines and you take an objective. He says, if you give me a company of Panzers, I'll take any of you on. And they took a pause and they said, Hans, just what exactly service did you serve in? He says, I was a captain in Hitler's Wehrmacht. I was a tank commander. And I said, well, he says, so we had to tell him, this is the American VFW. You can't be a member of us. So he says, we had to throw him out, but we had him back as a guest because he told such great stories. So I think it's pretty significant. And I believe somewhere in New England, there was a young lady who nefariously recently claimed to have been a Marine who served in combat locations and who received a Purple Heart and a Bronze Star. And that lady is now sort of the poster child of who not to be if you're trying to get into the VFW. Not that I want to harp on you.
Yeah, it's very sad and shameful that someone would represent themselves that way. And obviously should have been vetted a little bit better. I think she presented a DD 214, but it was a falsified document. So you have to really look closely, at something. And if something doesn't feel right about their service, that's when you investigate it. But, it is a little bit on the honor system, but, you have to talk to people and get the real deal out of them.
Now, let's get to some really good news. Here you are. You're not only the VFW National Commander-in-Chief, you're the first woman. You're the first Iowan to serve in this position. And of course, it begs the question, how does a person become the very top person in an organization? What was it that qualified you to step up and become the SINC, the Commander-in-Chief?
Yeah, well, thank you. It took many years before I felt like I was qualified to do this job. I held positions at post, district, state level. I was state commander, all-American state commander. and then I became a legislative chairman for the state. And that's what really piqued my interest in what the VFW does, because advocacy is by far the biggest way we can take care of fellow veterans. And I am privileged to be the first female. I will say, tongue in cheek, I'm the first one to wear a dress. I hope.
We hope that's the case, right?
I'm not sure. Nobody can verify that, but I am very privileged and honored to do this. And I will tell everybody I'm a veteran first. I just happen to be female, and my state and my conference had faith in me, and it brought me to where I am. And I again am so honored for this opportunity to bring a different perspective of what a veteran is nowadays. Females are over 13% of what makes up the military active duty now. And that's a huge number. Just a couple of years ago, it was only 11%. And so we are one of the most growth demographics in the military that there is right now. And we deserve to be represented. When I came in, I was a WAC. I was a Women's Army Corps in 1977. And that was done away with in 1978. We all integrated into the regular Army. But I'm very proud to say that I was part of the Women's Army Corps back in the day.
And you're a combat veteran. Where did you serve?
I served in Iraq 2010 and 11 with the 103rd ESC out of Des Moines, Iowa here. And as some of you may know, that the 103rd was hit very hard recently. We lost 6 people over in Kuwait. The bombing that hit the Kuwait tents there was part of my unit. It was my unit. I knew one of the people, Mr. Marzan, that was killed. I didn't know him extremely well, but he was part of my group. And, it hits home when it's the people that you know and served in your unit.
So you were a Balad or LSA Anaconda?
Yes, correct. Balad was also known as Anaconda.
We shared some time, 7 to 8. I was with the 316th ESC as their DOD in bed.
Yes.
The DLA portion, the Defense Logistics Agency.
Yes.
So, and I was the first one in that group in that organization. So it's pretty exciting to be able to push assets into the fight, knowing that the capabilities, our troops can't move or do a lot of things without them.
Yes. It was a logistical unit. I was their only medical person. I was there to report injuries and illnesses. I did not kick in doors or anything. But, we all have our niche and what we do. And, I'm very proud of the people from the 103rd. They work hard and good people there. And I was very grateful to be part of that unit. I had just come back from teaching EMT courses up at Fort McCoy, Wisconsin, to deploying medics. And I came back and was in processing, and they asked me if I wanted to go to Iraq. And I said, absolutely, I will. So 2 weeks later, there I was at Fort Hunter Liggett with the 103rd. Didn't know anybody there, but, we all have that bond. And they were such good people to me, and I appreciated them very much.
Yeah, you had 2 weeks. I was told on Thursday, we need someone in Iraq. I was stationed in Germany at the time. And I said, okay, well, it's Thursday. When do you need me there? It's a Tuesday. So it was late on Thursday. I went over to the medical folks and I said, hey, I'm getting ready to deploy. And they said, okay, well, come back in 2 weeks and we'll schedule. I go, you don't understand. I need to be there on Tuesday. Okay, roll up your sleeve.
Yep. Yeah. Well, thank you for doing that. And thank you for your many years of service. I understand you did 36 years active duty Air Force, and that is no small feat. And so thank you for that, Joseph.
Well, thank you for yours. And again, 36, this is our magic number, right? You served 36. I served 36 years at different times. And so you retired in 2013. What did the Army let you retire as? What was your rank as you were stepping out?
I was a master sergeant, had been a first sergeant, retired as an E8.
And so with all of that, let's go back to Washington, D.C., where you did the reenactment of the post-World War I veterans march to the White House. You
Yes.
went from there to the Congress and you did a presentation to the Congress. Could you tell us about how that went and what was it that you presented to the Congress on behalf of Veterans of Foreign War?
Yes, we did that march the day before in a blizzard. It was one of the only blizzards that Washington, D.C. had. But the very next day, I got to testify in front of Congress, the Senate Veterans Committee, with Ranking Member Takano, Blumenthal, Senator Blumenthal, Senator Jerry Moran, who have been around for a very long time. And they are very kind and gracious to take time to listen to what the Veterans of Foreign Wars says about our needs for fellow veterans. And by far, the biggest push I had was the Major Richard Starr Act. And it is shameful it's gone on for as long as it has. It was initially concurrent receipt. And then about 5 years ago, Major Richard Starr, as a lot of you know, passed away from lung disease incurred from the burn pits in Iraq. And so this bill was introduced many years ago, and then it was reinvented about 5 years ago to try and get it across the finish line. And that is by far the biggest push that the VFW has had, that I have personally had from myself for the last 4 years in going through the chairs. And it's shameful that we've let over 50,000 of our veterans not get their pension and their disability at the same time. They are two different pots of money. They are two different earned benefits that they should be receiving. But if they are less than 100%, then they are offset by out of their pension, which is unconscionable and illegal. And so by far, that was my spiciest comment to Congress is we need to pass this not yesterday, not eventually, but today. We need to pass the Major Richard Starr Act.
And you're one of many veterans organizations that are pushing for that Major Richard Starr Act to be passed. How was it received? Because there you are on the opposite side of the table from these folks that are receiving this information. How was it? What was Carol Whitmore's stepping away from that?
I saw so many people react optimistically and agreeing with that this needs to happen. And not less than an hour after I testified, Senator Ron Johnson from Wisconsin blocked the Major Richard Starr Act. It only takes one vote to block it from going to the floor. And shame on him for doing that. Take it to the floor so it can be debated, so the pros and cons can come out about it. But last year, it was Senator Roger Wicker from Mississippi who blocked it. And he is a fellow veteran. And, just let it go to the floor so people can see, so that it can be debated. But that's what they refuse to do. That's what they don't want to happen. They don't want to see it go forward because it is a lot of money. Originally, it was $10 billion over 10 years to take care of these fellow veterans. And then they conflated it to $78 billion. And, they're reaching for figures just to make sure that it doesn't move on. And that's what we're really angry about is the conflated figures and to get this done for those veterans that are in need of that money and deserve that money.
Wow. So, all right. That's legislative stuff that's ongoing. On a daily basis, we have Veterans of Foreign War posts all over the nation. As a member of our local VFW post, I have found that sometimes it's the common thread of being a veteran and a combat veteran at that is a healing balm to so many fellow combat veterans that are members of the VFW, that to emphasize the good that the VFW does, it provides an arena where folks can just go and have a good time, celebrate, and also
Yes.
commiserate where, there's some folks that, as a fellow veteran, a friend of mine would say, you end up going to that dark place and then they end up expressing whatever it is. And everyone's sitting around going, yep, I remember that. And then they're like,
Yes.
oh, I've got a place to go to where I
Yes.
have this common thread of commiseration, if you will, which turns into a wonderful turnaround. And we're not looking to replace Veterans Administration medical assistants, but in many
Right.
cases, I've heard this verbalized. This was better than any doctor's couch that I've had to sit on because of PTSD or anything like that.
Absolutely.
What's your experience with that?
Yes, one of the other things that the VFW was founded on, not just advocacy, but the camaraderie of what the veterans that experienced war, so that they have someone else that they can talk to that understands that a little bit better. We have stories and we should tell them so they are not forgotten. And if you're helping a fellow brother or sister heal by letting them tell their story, and you can sit there and say, yeah, I had that same experience, they're not alone then. They feel like they have that bond and that friendship, that fraternal friendship that will never go away, that most civilians can never understand. And that, I think, alone is one of the best reasons that the VFW exists. It's not just the advocacy, it's not just the camaraderie, but, we also have service officers that will help that veteran. We provide a free service for veterans that are filing their compensation and disability, and we do that for free. And that's the other thing that we're trying to fight is those claim sharks that are out there preying on desperate veterans and charging them exorbitant fees to help get them away from that and the shameless claim sharks that prey on those vulnerable veterans.
And those are folks that are trained to be veteran service officers. So they have a calibrated capability. They have the
Yes.
skill sets built up. And
We are accredited. We are accredited through the VA, and most claim sharks are not accredited. So when there is a discrepancy in a claim and that comes back, it's not that lawyer's name that's on that form. It's the veteran's name that is culpable and held liable for what is the discrepancy is. And that is shameless also, that they charged this veteran for this and they goaded them into making maybe a false statement about their illness or injury. And then when it comes back on the veteran, not that lawyer or that firm. It comes back on the veteran.
the veteran ends up losing whatever they were.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So tell us this. Give us the insight. You are the Veterans of Foreign War National Commander-in-Chief. What's a day in the life like for you in that position?
This is the best job I've ever had, honestly. I say that, I've said that about being a first sergeant before in the Army. It was the best job I had. And being a nurse was the best job I ever had. This truly tops everything. My daily life, I get to work with our Adjutant General, Dan West, and he does by far all of the groundwork for me. He does all the daily work at our headquarters in Kansas City. Ryan Gallucci is our assistant director in Washington, D.C., and both of them do such fabulous work every day for the veterans of foreign wars. I get to represent the veterans. Yes, I do have to make decisions usually on a daily basis, some good, some not so good. But I get to go out and represent this organization in the best way that I possibly can. I have an upcoming trip to American Samoa, Taiwan, Japan, and Korea. I just came back from Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. We have troops down there that are forgotten. The American government says, you're kind of on your own down there. They have one flight in and one flight out. Their footprint of their hospital is being vastly reduced, and they're expected to do more with less down there. And they do it, but it's difficult when they're being ignored down there for the basic things that could affect national security. I know that was all I put in there.
No, but it is. So, all right. Do you do it for the money?
Oh, absolutely not.
Okay.
If you do this for a title, if you do it for money, you're doing it for the wrong reasons.
Thank you so much for that. Oh, that's wonderful.
It is about our mission. And if you don't have that mission in your heart and in your soul, you are truly doing it for the wrong reason. And when I became part of the legislative committee for Iowa, I was also on the Veterans Commission appointed by the governor for Iowa. And that's where I saw where we get work done for veterans that need that help. I'm very fortunate in my life. Now it's my turn to pay back and pay forward for all those veterans that do need that help.
Well, here on Veterans Corner Radio, we say that our veterans are worth their value in gold. Carol Whitmore, VFW National Commander-in-Chief and combat veteran, thank you so much for all that you're doing for the United States through this veterans organization that is so significant. And to me, it's the pinnacle organization. So thank you so much for all that you do.
Yes, thank you for what you have done also, Joseph. It's, from another one combat veteran to another, thank you for your service. And I thank all of everybody listening out there. If you served, I so much appreciate it. And don't be afraid to step into a VFW. Don't be afraid to step into another service organization and say, I think I belong here, because you'd be surprised. It's changed a lot. I hope a lot of them have changed. It's not Grandpa's smoky old bar anymore.
Well, if you do show up to ours, I'll get a beer or drink of your desire ready for you. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much for this opportunity.
You've been listening to Veterans Corner Radio with your host, retired United States Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Joe Muhlberger. The views expressed on this program are those of Joe and his guests, and our opinions based on the best available information. In matters of law or governmental regulation, it will always be best to check with the appropriate agency. Thanks for listening, and we hope you'll join us for the next program on Veterans Corner Radio.
Here's a quick final thought. If you're enjoying these podcasts, why not take a minute to subscribe or mark Veterans Corner Radio as a favorite? It's easy, and you'll be set to be among the first to find out when new podcasts are published. And thanks again for listening to Veterans Corner Radio.